So, I mean, just starting with David. Now, it seems extremely unlikely that this was sculpted at this size with just a chisel. I mean, I know this is a story that we're all told, but we're questioning the official narrative right now. And when we look at the history, David was commissioned by the Catholic Jesuit Church to be placed along the roof line of the east end of the Florence Cathedral. But somehow or another it ended up in the public square. So the greatest and most famous sculpture of all time was just out in the public, and if you look at the old photos, look how much grime and wear, and there's even cracks on it. So we know that they have created an exact replica of it, right? And then supposedly moved the original into the art museum where it lost its famous leaf. And they say that it's been repaired, but I'm not sure if either of those are the original one. But let's just take a look at what it would take to sculpt out of marble in the modern day. I mean, so these marble sculptors are using power tools in order to get the job done, and you can really tell that it doesn't have the same finesse that these Renaissance sculptors had. I mean, they were creating stuff that cannot be replicated today, and so it really just makes you think that maybe they had a secret technique that was never revealed. I think this is a pretty crazy one too, is that you have this net rope that's entirely made from marble. I mean, come on, I mean, just look at the details. And again, I know artists are very talented, but there's just something about sculpting with marble to this level of detail that just seems fantastical, dreamlike, impossible. I mean, obviously that's why they're so famous, but why can't artists even compete with this today? Okay, yeah, and here's another famous one. I mean, just look at the realism and the level of detail in the fabric. It's not realistic that they just did this from chisel. And so, is it possible that these are actually petrified peoples? I know that may be a stretch for many of you, and another possibility is that they had some type of carving technology that was used by the ancients, and then after the reset they used this technology for creating advanced sculptures for art and for architecture. I think it's a little bit of both, but many have suggested that this type of carving or melting of stone technology existed in many other ancient cultures like Tiahuanaco and Punka Punku. They have such precise cuts that many say it's aliens, right? But there are myths and legends and researchers who are saying that they may have been able to soften the stone so that they could manipulate it. Now, that's just the technology aspect, but there really is something to this whole idea that you can petrify, or the petrification of humans. They could have had this technology that turned people into stone, and then on top of that they would do more details to manipulate it or to change it around to kind of hide the fact that it's actually a human. And if we look at this with open eyes, we'll find that there are actually a lot of legends speaking of this concept of petrification with humans or man being turned into stone. In Greek mythology, there's the well-known legend of Medusa, also called a Gorgo, which was one of the 3 monstrous gorgons. Generally, she was described as a winged human female with living venomous snakes in place of hair. Those who gazed into her eyes would turn into stone. This could be the ancient myth that is referring to some type of plasma apocalypse from the sky. Female being some type of spirit energy, and the snakes being plasma forms in the sky, turning the peoples into stone. And I'm guessing that this happened to the people who witnessed it because they didn't go underground, perhaps. In European legends, a basilisk is a legendary reptile reputed to be a serpent king, who can cause death by its glaze that would turn its victims into stone. In Norse cosmology, Svartalfar, or the Black Elves, Swarthy Elves, are also called Myrkalfar, who would grow from the maggots of Ymir's flesh and turn to stone when exposed to daylight. You'll find that there are many references in these myths talking about these creatures, or these dark creatures, turning into stone once they hit the sunlight. This is just from the myth side of specific creatures and or demons that could possibly be from another realm, that could even possess this type of stone conversion technology. Or it's some type of symbolism for a metaphysical catastrophic event. And isn't it weird that we have this saying of being petrified for when you're scared? And this concept literally comes from this idea of being frozen or turned into stone. But is there maybe something more to this saying? And so this is where it really starts to get crazy, because not only do you have like these fantastical myths of, is it symbolism or these creatures that turn you into stone, so it makes it a little bit more fantastical, but you have many legends talking about someone being turned into